It is 7 p.m. on March 20th, 2024, and accordingly, I will call this meeting of the Hanson Conservation Commission to order as posted. This meeting of the Commission is now open under the State Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Hanson Local Bylaw, Article 3-13, Section 5. This opening statement will apply for business conducted at this meeting. And this meeting is being recorded for standard procedure and requirements of the town. Roll call, please, commencing at the end.
Steve Smith. T.J. Roby. Dave Mansfield.
Phil Clemens.
Lon Wood.
Frank Skellinger.
Yeah. Both our staff members are present, and all but one of our commissioners are present. Mr. Heal is not able to be here and communicated that, but we have a quorum, so we will commence. Our agenda is before us, and I see that March 6, 2024 minutes are to be acted upon. And we will do so, and the chair is open to any motions regarding those.
I move to accept the minutes as published on March 6th meeting. Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes for March 6th as presented to us. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 4-0-0. Minutes are approved. Moving right along. Public hearings, we do not have anything scheduled for tonight. We move beyond that. Appointments, we do not have any scheduled for tonight. It's just us chickens. So we'll move right along. Discussion. Request for extension to an order of conditions for 150 Woodman Terrace, etc., as shown in the agenda. Mr. J. Bollier. Requires voting signatures. May we hear from our staff on this request?
Mr. Boyle, how do you say it?
Bollier.
Boyle. Came in and asked if he could get an extension for his order, which addresses two cottages at 150 Woodman Terrace, because the plan was to put in a septic system that serviced both cottages, and only one of the cottages was built. I mean, the septic system was built for only one of the cottages. The one down closer to the lake requires a special pump to get the effluent up into the septic tank, which is uphill. And because that cottage isn't used very often, they decided to wait. And so the order of conditions was about to expire, and he asked if we would extend it so that he could work on getting the other septic system done a little later. So I would recommend that you give him the extension.
Was a term in terms of number of years discussed when you were speaking with him?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
I would move to approve the request for extension for Mr. Bollier for 3 years as recommended by our staff.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? It's nice that people come in to stay on top of these things, but Mr. Bollier is actually an official in the town of Milton. He understands how these things work, so all to our good. So the motion has been made and seconded to approve a 2-year extension to the order of conditions for the reference in the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? 4-0-0. So approved. And the all necessary paperwork is right here. Does this have the 3-year thing in it?
No, I have to add it.
Okay. Well, it's needed to do that.
Yes.
And here are the signatures, and we shall move on.
Oh, thank you.
Have that. Next, I see on our agenda, National Grid Electric Services proposal for 368 Indian Head Street, I'm sure I should say.
Yes, I did.
And the old pump house, I'm pretty sure this relates to the utility poles and things attached there too. And I see we have a modest little package of information here. Frank, perhaps you could walk us through this this topic?
Some time ago, I contacted National Grid about taking down the poles and getting rid of the cans that are on two of the poles. And after some time and several contacts, I was able to get someone who knew what they were doing, who gave us a quote of $8,000 and some odd. So I wrote back and I said, why should we pay you to take down your equipment? And after some time and a couple of contacts more, they came back and told me why, which you have in your package. Basically what they said was, the poles are an environmental hazard if they remain, which we don't want to do. We don't want to leave them there. And because the wires and cans were put up to serve the previous owner, and now that you own the property, you are responsible for the wires and cans, so you still owe us $8,000. And that's where it stood until a couple of days ago when I asked Lisa who should sign for the proposal from NSTAR, who should sign it, whether she needs to sign it or whether one of us can sign it. And she said, give it to me, I want to take it to town council and get a reading from them. And that's where it stands today.
Okay.
It's in the hands of town council. Or I believe it is. It's in Ms. Green's hands.
Well, I think this bears keeping it on the agenda for an update each and every time we meet until it's resolved. And thank you for pursuing it that far. Things we learn are not always what we wished to know, but if it's an honest legal fact, so be it. It makes sense in a certain way because I know the electric wires that go from the street to my house, those are my wires. As well, I'm responsible for them in every way. So let me put it this way. Where they attach to my house, I'm responsible for that. But if they're hanging there, if a tree is knocked down or something like that, let's not take that analogy too far. But the point is, we have a bit of progress on that. And do they go all the way to the last pole? Or maybe is there one pole at the far end that's free of wires, which may be good question.
Yeah, that would have nothing on it. Okay.
But the ones closer to the front of the site. Well,
There are 4 poles, one of which has to stay there to service the 2 houses.
right, it's probably where it turns the corner. Yeah, certainly. All right, thank you for that update.
Just a dumb question, it probably is a dumb one. What's to stop us just chainsawing them and pull down like they were trees? If they just have cans on them? Oh, the wires are live. I thought it was dead wires.
Well, we can't be sure that they aren't live.
Oh, yeah, I thought that they were defunct.
But either way, I think I'm gonna hang a pole up, but we got it.
No, just saying, save $8,000 by doing some dangerous stuff.
I think it would cause some sort of emergency response that might cost us more than it's worth.
No, I don't mean if they're dead. I meant if they were just like, you know, defunct poles and then figure out how to dispose of them when they're down. But if they're live wires, I might forget that idea.
I noticed in the package
So,
that,
my reading of the package is that the pole set is included in the proposal, which is Frank has pointed out is the one that needs to stay to feed the houses, is that the wires need to be disconnected at that point.
Gotcha.
some action regarding that pole would be required.
And,
All right. Yeah,
and
that makes-
also,
that makes sense.
two of the poles have cans,
Well, yeah, I mean,
and we don't know what's in them.
And we don't wanna find out the hard way.
But if,
You wouldn't wanna drop them down and have them
Yeah.
spill.
if by paying this $8,000 and change,
Oil filled for cooling.
right, okay, never mind.
if,
It's a stupid question.
if we are able to successfully engage in this arrangement to pay $8,000 plus dollars and have the wires and the cans go away, that's good. We don't want anything to do with what's in the cans, whatever it is.
What's this part here? It says it implies that they're not gonna let us keep the poles.
Correct.
The
Well-
company has no pole donation policy, meaning if they come out, they're taking the poles too.
Yes, they
So
said.
it seems, they have a wood policy, or a management procedure, standard operating procedure. And I would take it, hopefully, I'm looking all around the room here, that the pole furthest in, there has no wires on it. They aren't gonna touch. I'm taking it that that would be the case.
I have no idea.
Well,
Apparently the poles don't belong to N-Star, they belong to some
us, for the owner.
Yeah,
telephone.
and we're only asking that the wires and cans be removed, we're not asking for anything else.
Well, yeah, I mean, it says they have no donation policy, but it's not a donation if we already own it. That's our pole.
Well, we shall see.
We're responsible for the pole. It's
Yeah,
not our
so-
pole. There's an easement for the service.
But they still own the equipment, but we're,
Someone owns the poles, it's not N-Star, and it's not us. And the person who owns the poles has an environmental policy that they don't leave them.
Okay,
I mean, utilities are pretty much every source of Verizon.
It's some kind of telecom company, could be Verizon, but it would be a deep, dark
Subsidiary thereof.
subsidiary.
anything else relevant?
nothing.
Does the town administrator understand that Nino wants to necessarily spend this money out of conservation funds before she signs and commits to it?
She doesn't understand that.
Because we don't have this $8,000 budgeted, correct?
It's in there.
But it's not in our spending plan,
It's in there too.
is it?
Yeah.
All right,
And I rest my concern.
then may we move on. Updating meeting dates, upcoming meeting dates. I see we have these full color calendars,
Yes.
it's convenient in our hands.
So we have up until April, so I just printed,
Okay, I see May.
May, June, July,
Okay.
August, yeah.
So, but in May, there are 5 Wednesdays. If we were to meet on the 1st, which happens to be May 1st, and the 15th, how does that sound to people? That gives you 2 Wednesdays off in a row. And in June, if we look at that calendar, we have 4 Wednesdays. The 5th and the 19th are the 1st and 3rd. How does that sound to people?
Well, it's my birthday, and my wife won't let me come to the meeting.
You have 2 birthdays, the 5th and the 19th?
Yeah.
The
You
19th.
get a certain
The whole
age.
month?
Being open.
Seriously, how does those days sound to everyone, including Mr.?
June 19th is Juneteenth, is that?
Oh, you know what? I wonder if the building would be closed.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
Isn't it celebrated on Monday?
Is it?
Good question.
Oh,
I wonder what the town policy is.
No, it is.
let's see what day it is.
Should be just on, should be
Since
on.
there's such a brandy spandy new holiday, you'd think they'd want to do it in a modern way, which is to put it on a Monday, but I don't know anything about that.
April, May, June.
24.
June 17th, according to the,
June.
this. Now, June 19th is Juneteenth, according to the,
Not the 17th, but the 19th?
well, according to the, automatic calendar.
You have a little app thing on there?
iTunes, well, it's iTunes.
Yeah, but do they observe it on the nearest Monday?
No,
I think what
not
matters
according
is
to
the
this.
town's policy, which probably follows the state policy.
Yeah.
So if we don't know, we don't know. But if we didn't meet on the 19th, we could meet on the 26th. And what that would mean is that in July, if we pushed back a little bit, there's 5 Wednesdays in July, we could, in good conscience, skip Wednesday, July 3rd, which will be a messy day, and go with the 10th and 24th in July.
Yeah, that gets back on track.
And there's, again, 5 Wednesdays in July, so that would mean August would be smooth sailing for the 7th and the 21st.
That would work well, because then you're not putting right before the 4th of July, when they're probably gonna do nothing on July 3rd anyway.
According to the town website, June 19th is a holiday.
Yeah.
Then, presuming that doesn't get corrected in the very near future, we could schedule our June meetings for the 5th and the 26th.
All right, but as I said, it won't be at, away from,
Okay? No day.
won't have that.
Then we're doing 10 and 24 to get back on the,
Dave's birthday. Now I know. Dave's birthday.
Very important.
Isn't our national one?
No,
Yeah.
it's pending.
If we, I'm not proposing this, but if we bumped it to June 12th, that would mean there's a long time, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks between meetings, and I don't think that's a good idea. So,
Awesome. Thank you.
the schedule is set
All right, what do we do?
pending triply confirmation.
what do we pick for July?
The 10th and the 24th,
And then back to the 1st and 3rd for August.
yes.
7 and 21.
Yep. Very good. Okay, that's set. Moving on, the Open Space and Recreation Plan, the OSRP. A little bit of
The conservation property list.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's conservation. I misspoke. Conservation property list. We have a packet here which is labeled conservation properties, and our staff has been busy assembling this list and some attachments and some dreary history as part of the attachment, but it explains why attention to this is critical. Perhaps our staff could speak to where we are with this list, et cetera.
Is this that list that Dave out there, and was talking about with you last?
It is,
Mhm.
yes. Last meeting, this topic came up, and Mr. Heel said that if he had a list of the properties that needed, select board attention, he would be happy to take it to them.
Mhm.
So I gave him an email version of this. I watched the meeting last night, he didn't bring it up. These, 29 properties have been in conservation supposedly since town meeting voted them to be in the care and custody of the Conservation Commission. However, we know from the legal standpoint that the select board has to execute that by signing a recordable instrument that can be recorded at the registry to ensure that these properties are protected. Otherwise, it's possible to sell them as town property. We would not like that for most of these properties. Some of them are small little parcels that were taken for taxes long ago and given to conservation around 1971. But some of them are our key properties, not to not the least of which is Smith Nowozelski, Sleeper, some others that are identified.
The mill,
This,
town forest.
the town forest is one. So this came up recently because the water department needs a similar action to get their hands on the 8.5 acres for the Old Pine Drive well. And so I've been agitating for the select board to do something about that because the DEP is waiting for that instrument to be recorded to give final approval for the well. In addition, in May, the water department will propose to have another parcel set into water department care and custody to act as water credit land, which allows them to pump more water out of the Old Pine Drive well. So it's very important that the select board do something about these properties, not only for us, but also for the water department. So this list, which you have now, went to Ed, and I'm expecting him to communicate it to the board. However, if you choose to, we can communicate it to the board ourselves.
I think it makes sense to communicate very clearly and include, perhaps, you have your comments as rationale, reference to the case of Town of Hanson versus Lindsay, which dates back to 2005 and which is summarized here. And which, because the town did not record that parcel, that 3 acres, we had it, and then we didn't. And there's no reason that couldn't happen to these others, depending on circumstances, et cetera. I think it's the Lindsay case, which I've known for probably more than 10 years by getting contacted by the Conservation Law Foundation and others that Hanson is, without it being on the front page, it's kind of well known among the land protection agencies in Boston, the state agencies. And it's part of the reason, I'm sure not the only, but part of the reason why when we do things like get a land grant to acquire property, there are so many bells and whistles about having it guaranteed to remain conservation land. They're not going to spend state money on something that's going to slip through local hands.
And also the requirement for a conservation restriction if you use CPA money. Right,
that's a huge part of it right there. Having a third party, not the town, not the state, a third party, watch like a hawk the land that is put aside for conservation. That's now procedure of the state. But we are not done protecting these properties, I think, until this step occurs. Thoughts, comments, questions?
I would move we send a memo to the select board and town administrator incorporating this list of properties and reminding the town administrator and possibly informing the select board of the need for a recordable instrument as it pertains to 29 properties.
That's what we need. That's a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
In terms of discussion, I would say, despite these histories that are before us, most people's minds are so preoccupied with day-to-day things and bigger things too, like school budgets, et cetera, they haven't had time to really digest and grasp and completely understand the risks here. So I think, frankly, it comes down to the Board of Select and their, the Select Board, using the right term, and the town administrator. They have a flat-out responsibility to completely fulfill forever the will of the voters of Hanson, which has been expressed. And until they do this, that responsibility has not yet been met.
I would suggest that we refer to that legal case.
I do feel I think so. This,
I just kind of assumed, frankly.
yes.
Okay.
I think that maybe the memo should include that, and in our discussion, we attach that to the motion. So that motion is made, and it was seconded, same night. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Abstaining? 4-0-0.
Do you want me to sign it, or do you want to sign it?
Perhaps it should be signed by all the members of the commission.
Okay.
I think that would strengthen it.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
And at whatever meeting it's on the agenda, any members of the commission that care to attend, I think it would be sensible.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just another item on the agenda. This is important. Many meetings, years of meetings and town meeting actions have occurred, and they're not done. So that's a responsibility to live up to.
Will we have a way of knowing which one they're gonna talk on, or should we just start showing up to meetings?
Oh, the agenda's always published.
We get their agenda.
Well, and if it's gonna be signed by the entire commission, it's gonna come back to us in 2 weeks, at time before we give it to them anyway, right?
Unless we stop by the office to sign it. But,
We'll get it written, and you can decide.
yeah, you'll let us know when it's ready.
Yeah, I'll create a signature sheet.
Okay.
On this subject, go further.
Sure.
In this package, there are actually two lists. One list is the one we just discussed, which is the list that has the properties that were voted at town meeting. The second list is a list of properties that the assessors carry as conservation land.
This is the one that says town meeting votes?
Town meeting votes.
That need town meeting
That's the
votes.
one.
Yeah,
So the assessors
The
carry them as conservation?
conservation land, but the town meeting has never voted them into conservation care and custody.
That explains a lot. Because when Ed and I were looking at the map of conservation land that they were using for the master plan, it had a lot of properties we didn't expect, and missing several properties that we expected. It came up with excessive information, that explains a lot.
So, I give you this list because I don't know what to do with it.
I'd be able to put them all together as one
These
thing.
are basically unprotected properties.
We're probably not.
We got a
Short answer to that question.
Each one telling separate vote.
And some of them we might care about.
My guess would be that properties that are including handled together. I think we did that for West Washington, right? Didn't we put the two of them together? Like in the same meeting, in the same town meeting we had, or not that one, but we've had non-adjacent parcels before and submitted them separately.
Yeah, I was thinking like, you know, if we can budget a legal line item at it, fair enough, we can simplify it rather than have a whole lot of items.
The two that I'd be most concerned about are pieces of parcels in the Little Cedar Swamp. And they are clearly identified as conservation land, and neither one of them has had a town vote. That would be on page 2, CC number 22, and CC number 29.
What about the Rocky Run one?
Rocky Run is another one that's never been voted.
That's joint ownership, it says with Plymouth County.
There are 3 parcels there. Plymouth County has 2 of the parcels, Town of Hanson has 1 of them. This is our one. Right?
No, I believe this one that's listed as CC 41
Oh,
is jointly owned.
that,
The other piece,
fine.
which is the one right underneath of it, is a, one that the town holds, just the town. And that's the piece between the actual race
mhm.
and the river.
Okay, there's a triangle of land, a point essentially,
Right.
between the 2, the large and small channels,
Right.
and on the west side is the street.
Where the parking lot is.
Yes.
Yes, and which Hanover has tried to assert ownership of.
They don't spend enough time out looking around or looking at the topographic maps. They just sit there in their office and assert things.
Yeah.
But the town line is eminently clear, both on the USGS map and on the ground when you go look at it.
Yes.
So, no big deal.
I had a question on 2 others.
Yep.
First one, Crooked Place, Hawks Ave.
Oh, that's the one that, Phil has yet to buy.
Oh, okay.
Which, where are you at?
First one.
Front page,
CC 43.
first item.
Oh, there it is. Not yet
Okay,
conveyed.
so that's the Hubble project.
Sometime during the year 2024, we're going to talk about this. That will come front and center to our priorities. So what we have acted on already is the list which says needs select board action. So that's the one thing. And with reference to that, I wonder if anyone is going to raise nudgy little questions saying, show me the town meeting vote, the date and the article number on this and that, or on all 29. I'm sure those things are knowable.
Mm-hmm.
I've actually, back about 20 years ago, when David Gould,
Frank's list already includes the date.
okay, you know what, I didn't notice that. Town meeting date, and okay, I withdraw my comment.
Every single one of them has a town meeting vote.
Yep.
I've been working on this since 2006,
Mhm.
so I have a pretty good handle on it.
And I agree. What I have done is an old set of assessors maps that were being thrown out when David Gould was here, he gave to me personally.
Yep.
And we went through it and we highlighted in green all the conservation based on town meeting action, not on registry of deeds. But what this will do, this will unite all sorts of information into one concrete list.
I had another question on this before we move on.
Which list?
The Elm Street one, the second.
Okay?
Is the Elm Street one related to Smith now Zelson?
I don't know anything about the Cupola letter.
No. No, it's a small piece that's not connected to Smith now Wazowski.
Do we know which end of Elm Street it's near or some landmark?
It's near the Halifax end. I'd have to get him.
Okay, but this is not part of the memo we're going to send right away, but this is going to require research or at least some form of action.
Well, it's gonna require a presentation at town meeting for a vote, isn't it? Second list?
It will.
Several years worth of town meetings, if we do it 1 or 2 at a time.
Not possible to group them together in some way?
I don't know.
It's
I
a
don't
project.
know. I don't know if the people would be signed up for that.
Sit still long enough for that. I think it behooves us, because I myself just plain want to know the details on each of these things. A few I might recognize, Thomas Hill and then Cedar Swamp, but others I don't know. And it's very legitimate, someone to ask us about it. If we don't know, that doesn't help our cause.
Then why don't we single out the ones that we just basically highlighted?
Well, number one, it's too late to put it on
No, I
town
know,
meeting warrant for
but
the
that-
spring. But to give this kind of attention, I'd like to do them all. And that way, if we find there's 1 or 2 or 3 postage stamps that we don't want, or that just make no sense to have, then we can kick them to the curb. But the time it takes to do that, I'm not gonna say, I don't know, like Frank said, I don't know how big of a project that is to
Well,
capture all
but
that.
it won't be a small project, so maybe we should start soon.
Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 parcels. It's not an infinite list, it's 17 things to
But if
do.
we wanna get it in the October town meeting.
Well, we have until August.
Right.
My instinct is, yes, we should do it in time to get it on the town vote for the fall. But my immediate interest is to get this memo written. And I don't know that anyone disagrees with what you just said. I think we all do agree with that. Frank, do you need more support than that to get this into the grist mill of research?
Nope.
Okay. Just one example of something. I don't know how it came to be, and maybe it's on here. Is there something on Spring Street? Spring and Glenwood Place? There is a parcel of land. It's a tiny point of land, probably about 2,000 square feet, in the corner of where Spring Street and Whitman Street cross, kind of across in Glenwood Place. And on that little triangle of land, there is a concrete slab which holds a utility company transformer, a big green box. However, what goes under it is a little bit of drainage that goes down towards Cushing Pond. So each property will have its own story, and by, let's say, perhaps by sometime in May, we will have those stories available to us, and yet be able to answer any questions people have for us about this, up to the second list. And then when we go to put that on the warrant for October, the story will be in our hands. Good work so far. We've got to do it. Very much appreciated. Look forward to the memo and us all signing it. And thanks, TJ, for not letting me skip over it. I would have come back for sure. May we now chat for a minute about the open space and recreation plan? We had requested our staff look at some other existing open space and recreation plans in other towns that have been created not too distant past, and
You don't have a
Those?
package.
okay, just to kind of get a baseline for what consultant or other entity prepared that plan, and if possible, find out what it costs the towns, because it's public record and it goes into the towns, whatever it costs. Don't know where we are with that, although I know some work has been done or initiated.
Some of the towns have been contacted to find out who they used.
Mhm.
I haven't gotten any dollar amounts. What I'm finding is that they've used a variety of consultants, so that there doesn't seem to be one consultant that's consistently used by these other towns, except for the Old Colony Planning Council. A lot of towns have used them. Not all of those who use them only use them. Some of them supplemented it with other consultants, one of which was the one that Phil brings up, the school. Others have used people like Horsley Witten and other consultants of high prices.
Mm.
So there's no real thread running through all these towns. One of the things that they are using is the workbook that the DCR put out. And a lot of them, including Hanson, pirated some of the words straight out of that workbook. So whether or not the words apply to Hanson or not is...
I think one word you say is some boilerplate material. They require it, so we put it in.
Yeah, yeah. Whether it really applies is sometimes questionable. So I can keep working on that and get you some numbers, but I haven't done that yet.
Contributing to that, I saw in print somewhere, and you folks may know, and something about the Old Colony Planning Council, their willingness to write plans like this for a price of something like $60,000. That shocked me in a bad way. I think they did, let me put it this way. The plan we have now was written by someone who now essentially is in charge of that stuff at Old Colony Planning Council. She wrote it here on the town's dime. But we still paid the Old Colony Planning Council $5,000 just for the maps, which they did. One of my favorite moments in that was several of us went over to help them finish the maps. And we were dividing up where the town watersheds were. And the gentleman who had not yet drawn the final line on the map really didn't know anything about Hanson. So I asked if I could sit at his desk for a minute and borrow his mouse. And I drew the line. And it was, we help consultants if we have to, and that's the case of us doing that. But the last time we paid an outside consultant to do the whole thing, the cost was $20,000. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, like 14 years later, that the price is now $60,000. But I don't know, we don't know, but we hope to find out what Horsley Witten charges, and also what the Conway School charges. There's two other things about this particular project that matter. One is that it's nice to not have a gap in your eligibility for land grants and park grants, but that gap here will commence from April till whenever our next plan gets written and approved by the state. And that's what we're tackling. Your hand is in the air, sir.
My understanding from the talks with OCPC is that if you haven't in fact hired someone to work on the updates.
My understanding is somewhat different, which is, and this is based on experience from about 7 or 8 years ago. If you have submitted a plan to Old Colony, to the DCS for their approval, and it has not yet been approved, you've at least submitted it, then you can apply, but you will not get any award until they have finished approving it. So it's a slightly higher threshold for them to consider.
There was some ambiguity in exactly where you need to be in the process.
Maybe you just send them the title page and some scribbled notes, they consider that in process. But I wouldn't advocate that. Point being, though, you don't get the grant money until it's done and approved. And the sooner you start it, the sooner you finish it and hopefully get it done. So there's
the warrant article for the housing production plan is for $40,000.
which is an entirely different plan that I don't know very much about.
I don't either, but I can't imagine they're going to charge much less.
But you know, that sets a bar of sort of expectation, you know, what's the order of magnitude of the expenditure? And as far as how many months it takes, which is not known, I know for a fact that the High Street Park Committee has high aspirations for submitting an application to help pay for more design, maybe even early construction, first phase construction of the High Street Park to this same agency. And its eligibility depends on this same plan. It's open space, not just conservation, but park open space as well. So if we had this plan, if the town had this plan done by, let's say, early to mid-spring of next year, about a year from now, that would, I believe, satisfy the a need that's on the table now, but the people who put that need on the table don't know how to help with this plan. We're sort of working to make them happy as well. Sir?
May I? One of the things that bothers me is that there doesn't seem to be any central coordination for this plan. The town planner believes that it's on his table, that it comes after the master plan, and that he will work on it. The chairman of the Conservation Commission wants to own it.
Or at least share it.
And there's nothing anywhere in this town that says who is responsible, who's going to do it, and when they're going to do it. And so it's very frustrating for me to think about the open space plan knowing that I don't have any control over what's going to be done or when.
Well, I don't think you are asked to exert the control, but you are at point, you and the office in general, are at a point where gathering information that's useful for it, whoever ultimately does it, will make it a better product and make it happen, or cause there to be less delay in making it happen. There are things that have to be in there that have huge amounts to do with what conservation is responsible for. No matter what anyone else says, we have a huge amount of the content. It's our responsibility.
Actually, that's not the case. Actually, the content that conservation has for the open space plan is probably the content that's there. And it just needs to be updated.
Well, I'm not saying we have new content to put in it, but there is some updating that's required. The space about which they are talking is, in significant part, conservation land. And therefore, whether it's there now in our current inventory or wants to be added to it, we have things to say that should be written into the plan. That's all
Well,
I'm saying.
I think that you just brought up a case where the input is going to have to be even more and better than what's there, and that's for the Parks and Fields Department. There's nothing in there now.
May I say that the last two times these plans were written, 7 years ago and 7 years before that, the Parks and Fields Committee was begged, urged, pleaded, cajoled, approached to try to put some information into the plan, and we received virtually no input from them. They are unaware, as a functioning committee, they're unaware of how these plans, how important these are to them, and how to help prepare them
The point
to really
being,
work.
the point being, if they want a grant based on this OSRP, then the information needs to be in the OSRP.
Which is
you
why-
can't talk about conservation land and then talk about, oh, you want to have a ball field? No.
Well,
there's
and now
nothing- there's
We
nothing
basically,
there.
I'll just say, that we had to basically ghostwrite for those interests, some information into the plan. But because both these last two times, conservation knew we would want land grants, we put our shoulders to the wheel, made sure the plans got done, and then in each time successfully applied for, at this point, a total of like $282,000 we got grants from the state. And we don't want to miss those opportunities in the future. That's why the chair cares so much about this.
No, I understand, but one of the things that you and I have talked about before, and I'm putting it on the table for the rest of these people to understand, is that you would like to have an OS committee. Well,
We haven't said that. But what you're saying, though, we should have said that, and it should be true. We should have one. I haven't said that before, at least I don't think I have in those words, but I should have. Yeah,
well, I certainly got that from our conversations. But
Okay.
in any case,
so you need to probably,
that would be a place to pull these strings together. You know, and I don't have any problem supporting that with information and text and writing and whatever, but, you know, if we're gonna do this, we gotta have somebody who's willing to say, Frank, this is what I need from you.
Well-
I'm not gonna write this plan, I'm telling you that right now.
Which is refreshing to hear, because the last time an agent wrote the plan, it looked like an agent had written the plan, as opposed to,
Well, if a committee to do that, you mean within the Conservation Commission, or just like a
Within the town.
multi-board,
Yeah.
multi-board committee.
On paper, there is an open space commission in this town, and its chair is the same that chairs this committee.
Wait a minute. You mean open space committee?
No, his term expired.
His term has
last
expired.
year.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
But it is an open space and recreation plan. I'm sorry, let you finish.
So, on paper, this open space committee exists. Whether or not anybody is currently serving in that role clearly is not affirmative. But if we're gonna talk about, we need Parks and Recreation, or Parks and Fields, whatever their name is, and the High Street Committee, and we wanna go for land
Recreation
grant.
Committee,
Commission.
Camp Kawani Committee, all of those have to be involved.
With all due respect to the town planner, it's not fair to make all of those wait for him.
A good way to put it.
Good point.
I'll buy that.
I
Right.
understand that he's only one man, and
Yep.
can only do so much.
Yep.
But I don't think the majority of the town should be stuck waiting on the one planner.
As important as that role is, and I think it's a very important part of getting this plan, another plan done, the busyness of his schedule must not hold hostage the development of the contents of this plan and the progress towards some kind of reasonable date for completion. I will say this, I looked further into the Conway School as a provider of services for these men. That would be, they have 3 semesters in a given calendar year, academic year. And it seems like either the fall, or even more likely the winter of the semester, is when they typically take on, or have some of their students take on this kind of a project. I think that it would be very, very wise to, whatever else happens, on whoever else watch, we should explore, and I'm willing to assist the staff with this, to ask, to approach the staff of the Conway School to say, looking ahead to the 2024-25 academic year, we may have an opportunity, should you wish to pursue it with us, for an open space and recreation plan to be written. We may wish to consider you as one of the candidates for an outside resource to prepare this plan and see what they say, because the staff they have, it's a small enough school that you can talk to the important people in 1 or 2 phone calls or emails, things like that. And they already know a lot about who's going to be applying to their schools come September, and what the resources will be, and what kind of success they've had, what kind of projects. And because I don't think it would be as expensive as other outside sources, I think we should at least include them. And I don't think anyone except the Conservation Commission has experience working with them, knowing they exist and they have these capabilities. Because this commission contracted with them about 5 years ago to write a concept plan for the park on High Street. That's the kind of legwork that we can contribute to the overall effort. Not making any decisions for anyone, but in order to know, be able to compare their pros and cons of being a resource writer with other sources, cost and timeliness, et cetera. I think we've got 2 things to do. One is keep working on things that could be our part of it, which is the inventories and things like that, and goals for future. But also, to Frank's point, elevate the town's game as far as how plans should be written. and make it very clear that we're doing our part, and it's incumbent on other departments or committees or commissions like recreation, open space, and, I'll say open space because I think the committee's going to come back, and the parks and field, and that's the way to, I think, at least give it our best shot as a town to get this thing into existence. So we're working on getting basic data for other how towns have done it. Thank you for doing what we have so far. And I would propose, unless someone finds a way to forbid it, me personally reaching out towards Conway, but with full communication with the office, to see what they have to say. They may say, and don't think so, but they say, you know what, we've tried 3 or 4 times to do it, we've kind of done it, but it was so much work, so hard to do, it burned our students out, and we didn't do that great of a job, so we're not in that business anymore. If that's the case, we need to know that. I doubt it will be. So, I'm rambling on here, I don't want to keep doing that.
I'd like to address Frank's point about this should be a committee as representatives among the various and sundry bodies. What can we do to try to move that forward?
Tell everyone, starting with the town planner, that's what's required.
What's the situation with the master plan?
Good question, very important.
In regards to
Progress?
Well, there is a master plan committee,
the master plan steering subcommittee.
Steering committee.
steering committee, I'm sorry, and there is a town planner,
There is.
and he is supposedly working on getting a grant to hire a consultant to do what he's supposed to be doing. All right,
For the master plan,
for the master plan.
the master plan's already been paid for.
Old Colony Planning Council is the consultant, they've been on board for several months. And the steering committee is helping steer their work once a month.
Whatever the financial arrangement is behind the master plan was reached prior to there being a steering subcommittee.
So Laurie is writing the master plan.
Lori and team are writing the master plan. So far, I think I've seen 2 draft chapters. We have a meeting Monday night.
Okay. I'm sorry.
And so, within this master plan, there is supposedly a connection to the open space in town, right? Do you just reference the OSRP? Is that the idea?
I haven't seen that chapter yet, so I don't know how they're structuring it exactly. The chapters we have so far are the ones that weren't gonna change.
Somebody has to communicate what's going on. You can't just have the Old Colony Planning Council write up a book and say, here you go.
And I know you personally, Frank, have provided some very pointed, specific, and appropriate comments to the Old Colony Planning Council, and I assume the steering committee, things that we want to see addressed in the plan. And the question is, how's that going? We don't quite know, do we?
Nobody's talked to me. What I get back from Tony is, thanks for your comments. I mean, I don't want you to get the idea that I'm dumping on Tony. He's doing yeoman's duty, and he's got
Correct.
a lot more to do than just this.
Yes.
Correct. Tony, my boat is so small and your ocean's so big.
Yes.
Tony's only got one man's ability.
He's probably got one oar.
I believe the public survey has closed, which was what they needed to finalize before they could start finishing writing the chapters. I'm sure there was drafting going on prior to that. So far, I guess technically we have 3 chapters. We have the introduction, which isn't really all that much of a chapter by itself.
That's the last thing you're writing.
Also the easiest.
That we were supposed to discuss Monday night at the steering committee meeting. And I would like to presume that Old Colony is going to present us with the next set of chapters for us to read and review. they
When do you meet on
confirmed that.
your monthly meetings about, when, sort of,
We meet at the planning board.
at their meetings? So when they have a meeting, so do you, at least some of the time?
Usually we're on one of the two planning board agendas for the month.
Okay.
It was February the last time we all went, right? When we were doing this, like, the MVP zone. I don't think I didn't go last week, so, and I know we're up this week.
Well, in the meantime, I will continue to contact these other towns and get
Mhm.
data. And I will also try to talk to Tony and find out, well, I'm not sure what I want to find out. Whether there's any plan to recall the Open Space Committee, or whether he just plans to get a grant and have somebody write it for us.
It's not Tony's call what happens to the Open Space Committee, it's entirely the Board of Selectmen. Because they're the ones who appointed it in the first place and have the authority.
You've sat in those meetings, I saw you there last night.
But not on behalf of open space, but on behalf of other things that are going to
Do
figure
you
in.
think that the select board is going to move on this?
If they are told what to do and why, I believe they would. And not only why, but how. In other words, hand it to them on a silver platter.
Who are they relying on to tell them? They're relying on Mr. DeFries to do that.
So,
Well, it's not his call, and I'm sorry, I can't really say too much more about that.
I have not discussed this directly with Tony. My impression is he does not yet have a plan specifically for the open space and recreation.
It's down the line.
He's aware of it.
There's a list of things to
But
do.
again,
The master
small
plan,
little thing
the
of
housing, what do you call
production
it?
plan.
Production plan, then the OSRP. That's the sequence. And my understanding, albeit not very good, is that he's seeking grants to have people do that for us.
So he is and he isn't. He is not using the grant for the housing production plan specifically because of how long it would take to get. He has a warrant article in for the $40,000 for, I think it's supposed to be in the special town meeting, but it wasn't in the draft. So that $40,000 would, if approved, become available immediately to sign a contract with OCBG to start that plan. I think he has discussed looking at grants for the OSRP.
Mhm.
To the best of my knowledge, there's been nothing more than the idea that we would like someone else to pay for the OSRP in terms of that.
He's issued one of these EOIs
Expressions of interest.
to see if somebody else will pay.
Right, the state has a new special partnership program where all their different grant sources, theoretically, are made more readily knowable by and accessible to the towns for all these different purposes. And the towns have to say what they're interested in. And some sort of feedback should happen to see if there's a match between a source and Tony's interest.
Yep.
In terms of an open space committee reestablishing itself, you're going to need at least 3 volunteers because it's designed to be a 5-person commission or committee.
Mm-hmm.
It's not probably legally binding, but the description of the open space committee on the town website says that they are responsible for updating the open space and recreation plan.
What it says on the town website, I don't think was written by anyone who actively in the past was on the Open Space Committee. This is words are being put into the committee's mouth. Although it's not a bad concept, in the town of Hanover, which has a lot to do with what goes on here, they have an Open Space Committee who absolutely does keep that plan up to date. They are an example of how that's done. So there may be an assumption that's what everyone would do.
But if the argument is that somebody besides the town planner needs to be responsible for it in order to keep it updated in a timely manner, then I think, Phil, you should find 2 friends who want to be on an open space committee with you.
That's what we did 20 years ago when we first started it, in this room.
Because, I mean, the committee that is listed on the website is clearly not
It's
up to date.
it's completely,
The committee has not,
it's gone by the boards.
yeah, been terribly active.
Well, this commission is actually doing many of the things an open space committee would do in other towns. And, there's this push and pull between, how to divide the responsibilities of land protection between an open space committee and a conservation commission. Before the Wetlands Protection Act came into existence, the early conservation commissions, from the mid-50s on, were, for all intents and purposes, open space committees. So we don't need to, I think, spend the entire evening on it. This has been very useful. Appreciate your updates, TJ, and Frank's very cogent thoughts. And maybe in like 10 or 12 business days, we'll have some sort of a shotgun survey of what's going on in other towns. And I will contact Conway also and just see if they're in the business or not. If they aren't, then we need to think no more about them. If they are, then who knows? But let's say that I think one useful thing that occurred to me as we're talking is, and we've never had this before, at least in the sense, there was never an, in fact, declared steering committee for the last two open space plans. There was just a bunch of people talking, and it happened with a consultant in both cases. It wasn't an organized function. What the master plan has been doing is actually a pretty sensible model, I think, to at least do the best that can be done, to have people pushing towards an acceptable finished product on a known schedule with a competent consultant. That's a more organized approach than we had before, and probably not a bad model to think about in the future, to your point about having a committee. So, anything else new to say about that? Okay, we know that we need it. We'll be doing what we can. Property management space.
Right, unfortunately, I have a lot of stuff, but I'll try to make it quick.
Sure, go for it.
The kiosk project, I dug the holes on Friday with one of Dandel's guys. Monday, we poured up trees and PSF kiosks and started the old pine ones. I finished the Smitty's one yesterday. Today, we put up Puritan, Rocky Run, and Meadow. So the only two kiosks were left are the two with Sleeper. I contacted Shannon Paul. That's another you've given me, at 590 McCorn. She's okay with us driving through there. She expressed a little concern because it's kind of muddy. I assured her that we would only drive two pickup trucks through there one time, and if we did any damage to their driveway, we could fix it.
Who are the Paulins on McCloud
They're the ones
Street?
that own the log cabin there.
Okay.
So they have the right of way off McCorn.
They have their own right of way,
Yeah,
parallel to the one we've talked about before.
right.
I understand what
And we wanted to go in there because it's flooded on the Smitty side. So we're gonna take the pickup trucks in from McQuan to put the kiosks up tomorrow.
Okay.
There's no controversy about it. She's okay with it. That's the only way we can get in
And this
there.
will be on the Sleeper property.
And we're putting the two kiosks on the Sleeper property.
Okay.
One of them is right over the proposed parking lot off of Mr. Lincoln's, right there.
Yeah.
Right over the hill. It's gonna be at the T, so you'll come over that hill and you'll be looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is at the top of the hill at the sand pit,
Mm-hmm.
where Bay Circuit Trail goes to the right.
Yeah.
You go to the left. My original plan was to put it so when you get to the top of the hill, you're looking at it, and too many routes, we couldn't put it there. So it's on the other side facing Pembroke.
Okay.
But there wasn't really any other place to put it, so that's where those are going.
That makes sense.
And they're going in tomorrow. Anyway, I told her that we didn't expect to have much damage already. There's two pickup trucks that's been dry for a few days.
That's good of them, thank you.
And she was very,
Through you.
very congenial, no questions, except she just said, this is a little wet. I said, well, if we mess anything up, we'll fix it. So,
You may not want to bother to do this, but I wonder if they bought, ask this, wonder if they bought it directly from Jeff Keeney.
they did.
Okay, because Jeff is a good friend
I
of
talked to
conservation
Jeff.
in the town.
Throughout the whole issue.
Mhm.
Good. And then Frank got me the phone. Jeff suggested talking to people right on McClellan Street, but we don't really, the right of way is, anyway, that's all set. I have a question for you guys. There's been a camper in the Smith Knowles Elton parking lot for over a week.
What color camper?
Somebody's living there.
A green
It's
pickup
truck. It's a blue pickup truck with a camper on it, and a gray Honda or something that goes with it. Been there every day since last Wednesday. I haven't been down there at night. I assume they're just staying there. There's somebody in it. I've heard them moving around when they're working on it. I haven't done anything. I'm just like looking the other way. But I don't know if you guys think I should call the police on it or let it go or what. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
I think we should.
So how long has it been? Several weeks?
No, I don't know how long, but I noticed that, I forget what day, I think it was a week ago today, I first saw it. And then I was down there yesterday, it was still there.
It's well, swing by there, and so they're called police.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking for little guys before I stood that part.
Yeah. I know that there was a period of time, probably, I don't know, I'm gonna say 5 years ago or so, where there was a homeless person living in a car that was parked up in the Boteri Field parking area, and the police got involved, but the way it worked out is they offered the most humanitarian attitude possible towards it. They actually didn't kick the guy out, but they wanted to make sure he was okay, and somehow they actually organized some sort of little volunteer drive to get the guy what he needed, and eventually moved on. So I'm not sure what will happen if we come up with this, but I don't
I'm just
think...
throwing it out there, I don't have an agenda anyway on it,
Okay.
I'm just letting you guys know.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate that.
down there. Yeah, I don't know, I go by there every couple of days, it's still there.
Thank you.
So, I think, you guys all know there's graffiti down in Smitty's, right? Those are the pictures.
On the rocks, of the blocks.
I got an estimate from, Instabright, $1,000 to take it off.
Whoa. What does it cost for paint to cover it over?
You don't want to paint to cover it over, that's gonna give them another slate to paint on.
Didn't we do that with the rocks at Rocky Run?
No, yeah, Rocky Run, but that was a different story, because you can't get in there with power wash. So, I mean, I'm just telling, I talked to Mr. Bright, and he said, that's what it's gonna take.
Not to be argumentative, but if you power wash it off, doesn't that also create an empty slate for them to come back?
You guys tell me what you wanna do.
Well, there's one that costs
Yeah.
$1,000 and one that doesn't,
It-
on approach.
Well, it means I'm gonna spend 4 or 5 hours on it, but
Well,
other than that, yeah.
no one's telling you to do it, but I'm just saying, as a
I'm
matter
just
of...
looking for what you guys
budget.
wanna do. Is graffiti on there? I don't think we should leave it there, because it's gonna create more.
Can I see it? I haven't been there in a little bit.
I don't have an agenda over it, I'm just reporting on it,
Yeah.
like with the camera.
Okay.
Tell me what you wanna do, and I'll do it.
That's too bad.
I got a price to fix the Bay Circuit Trail where it's all eroded down the hill.
Okay.
I know we haven't decided what we want to do with that hill going to Kiwanee,
I walked it the other day.
but we do need to fix the trail. So I got a quote from the landscaper, 1 day with the machine, $800, and Dan Dell needs $500 to $600 for 20 yards of fill to fix it. If you guys want to do that, I can get it done fairly promptly.
So it was 800 for the machine and 600 for the bill, so 1,400 total.
Yeah, and then I'll probably end up having one later with some lumber to put a couple of water barriers. But I think we already have the lumber, so that's a small number.
And what's the location?
It's right, that steep hill going up to Kiwanee that's kind of eroded.
It's the vista behind the cabins.
The picnic table used to be up there. At the bottom of that's where the Bay Circuit Trail goes around Smitty's, and there's a little bit of a little rise. It's eroded pretty badly on both sides.
There is a very tempting and therefore very much heavily used, call it a pathway from down on the trail to up to the top of that hill, that vista. And that has been used so much, it's eroded, there's like a V-shaped gully there now.
Well, this doesn't have anything to do with fixing that, because I don't know what we're doing.
Well, I don't know what spot you're talking about there, it's not...
Right at the bottom of it, the Bay Circuit Trail runs right across there, and it's eroded on both sides.
Oh, the basic trail is eroded?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the hill.
No, because there seems to be some uncertainty about what to do about it.
Okay,
The hill, is the hill on Schmitty's, or is it on?
Well,
The
that's
crest-
where the line, the chain link fence for Kiwanis is at the top of the hill.
we spent $6,000 20 years ago to survey the line between the bog and Camp Kiwani. And the crest of the hill, very much in line with the fence, is where the property line is. Camp Kiwani owns the top of the hill, we own the slope. But down the bottom of the slope, that's very sandy, isn't it? The trail is very sandy.
Yeah, it's pretty sandy. Dendell
Quite a road
recommended
speed.
using that processed stuff on it, because it packs better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But so that's all I'm talking about here, because we
Okay.
really haven't decided what to do about the hill.
Okay. Yeah, I floated an idea past Chris at the last meeting, and he was sure, because whatever we do with the hill probably should involve talking to the Camp Kiwani people.
Originally, I was gonna talk to him, but now, I really,
I agree with that.
so the landscaper I talked to, he looked at it, and I said, what do you think? He said, well, he says, I'd fill it, but then you gotta hydroseed it. He said, that's about the only thing you're gonna be able to do. to get
Yeah,
that.
to stabilize it.
Yeah. So, but I didn't ask for a quote or anything, because I don't know where we're
Sure.
going. So, that's all I got right now, is just to fix the trail part.
I wonder if, Dandel, this is probably a bad time to ask whether any of the ground up material that's up in the Boteria parking lot is available. But since we have a state of transition for the highway director, as of very recently, that's not a question we can ask.
I'm just like with the graffiti, the camper, and the repair job, all you need to know is what you guys wanna do. If you wanna let it go, I'll let it go. If you want me to fix it, that's how much it's gonna cost. That's the commission.
Okay, is that the end of?
No, I just wanted to update you on the volunteer thing. Lon sent a letter out to the volunteers. I've heard back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them that are willing to do some help. We'll see.
Wow, that's interesting.
Well, one of them was Linda Dowling. She just wants to pick a little trash along the trail. I met with her yesterday. I don't think they're gonna do anything.
See what we can get.
And Mary Ann is another one.
Mhm.
I need to have her cut up a whole bunch of lumber if you want to, giving us some, I don't know if she can do it.
Mm.
West and Joanne Bloss are willing to help me clean the trail up at Bonnie Hill. So, it's not like I got a bunch of carpenters. But Mike Jones did say that he'd be glad to help. He's the one that helped me on Cornetto. But I'll probably get more use out of him than any of the others. And then someone named Charlotte Young called me today. You guys know her?
I don't know, Charlotte, Young.
No, but Green Hanson did submit a little forwarding.
Yeah, I
email,
saw that.
So that's, I'm guessing that's.
I'm gonna
from
meet
them.
Mary Ann and her husband tomorrow if she wanted to show them all the lumber, but I don't know how much the reaction's gonna be. I'm gonna be back and forth between here and Slakehurst. We'll see on that. So that's the story. So you guys wanna decide yes or no on fixing the trail, and, I can either move on it or stop thinking about it. And, what else? Oh, and the graffiti.
Graffiti in the camper.
Okay, so, first things first for trail. If we fix it without fixing the slope, what's gonna prevent it from washing out again?
The two things are not technically related.
They're not really
They're
related.
near each other, but one isn't affecting the other.
Okay, so this is not a result of the slope
No.
moving.
No, it's just use on the trail.
Then I move that we authorize Dave to, is Dan doing the orders?
No, Callahan Landscaping's got the machine, Dan Belvin.
Authorize Dave to hire, whatever the
Callahan.
landscaper was,
Engage.
engage, so, Callahan Landscaping and Standell Construction to repair the Bay Circuit Trail at Smitty's Bog for an amount not to exceed $1,400. Second.
Yeah. And in terms of discussion, does this fall within one of the categories of our spending plan?
It does, yes, it does.
Well-
Except originally I was gonna try to do it with volunteers, but I don't have that much.
It's, no, and it's more than picking up trash. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Go for it. Thank you.
Callahan's gonna get insurance.
Oh, okay.
Good.
Good.
I told him to wait until we, on the graffiti, you wanna paint it, or do you wanna?
I agree with Phil on that one. Either way, it's a slate for them to paint on, but I'm assuming we can get covered up with paint faster
Yeah,
than
there's-
getting power wash.
There's a number of off-the-shelf hardware store things that are meant for painting concrete.
Yeah.
And this is something I'd be willing to do myself.
Yeah.
A little lower, and it would be like an hour's worth of work to buy a gallon or two of paint and go down with one of my rollers and just do the thing on a dry day. It was a little warmer than today.
I think I got a paint spray to
Well, no, honestly, the roller, all you need is a little elbow grease. You don't need all the stuff you have to clean up later, and then you throw the roller away.
Okay.
So I would propose we handle the graffiti that way. I
Okay.
saw it, so I think we can do that.
Okay.
And,
So, yeah, other than that, I mean, that's all I got. Curiosity.
Camera.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you a heads up on the cameras.
Yeah, that's something.
I don't know that legally we have any grounds to stand up or not to do this or stuff. Half hour.
I haven't been down there at night, so I'm just assuming he's staying there. I don't really know that.
The regulations say that you can't camp, the regulations say that they are open from a half hour before dawn to a half hour after sunset or
Yeah.
whatever it was. I don't know that we have a leg to stand up and tell him you can't be there during the day.
no, not during the day.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
the-
No,
it's
not
the
during
night.
the day, no.
Yeah. Okay. We'll
Here's the thing to do
monitor
is
that situation.
drive down there at night. I'll set the alarm for one. Drive down
Well, you just swing by when you leave.
Actually,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah, I'll
you know
put it down
the
that way.
the easy way to do
I'll
that
shoot you a text after this.
is, see if the cops will swing by and just look. They're paid to be out there at night.
Well, I mean, like I was saying, if you want, I can drive past there on the way home, and if they're there, I can just call the police and say, hey, there's a guy.
The non-emergency number, say, could you check this out?
Yeah, I'll let them know that the Conservation Commission is asking them to do that, not just random.
Right.
Right, there shouldn't be anybody in those parking lots at night.
By consensus, I think we agree to that, we're all nodding. No need to be more formal than that, we'll keep monitoring. Thank you.
Dave, you want to do it, or you want me to?
Why don't you do it, because I'm already supposed to be there.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm a night owl, I'll give you a point.
Okay, thanks for the property management. Open space acquisition, I have some substantial information. The Hubble property, which is at the far end of Perker Place, the 45 acres we've been talking for a long time, received an email earlier this week from the real estate consultant for Hubble, who was looking for us to move ahead. So is the state. And I sent him a reply, and I'll just get it out here. It's all positive. The guy's name is Tom Pooley, P-U-L-I-E. He's the consultant to Hubble. And he asked me for an update on what the town's current stance is. I've held off on doing anything too formal until we heard from the seller. We can't make big plans if they haven't agreed to sell it. But I said, hello, Tom, thank you and John Pierce, too, for the recent communications. With Hubble, through you having confirmed its interest, the Conservation Commission is initiating formal steps needed for town approval, particularly the funding. It will take several months for all levels of municipal approval, likely culminating with our special town meeting in early October. That would be us looking for CPA money and so on. I agreed with John Pierce that the earliest likely date for closure, earliest, could be December 2024, and who knows, maybe not. But in the meantime, I will work with the relevant town officials, starting with the Conservation Commission, on all the details and documents needed. We appreciate your offer of support, because he made that offer, and we'll certainly stay in touch with you and John as progress dictates. So here's the deal. We have in hand the appraisal from 3 years ago that was done. We told them in writing about 2 years ago that that's what we want, the town wanted to offer for that 45 acres. So it's $117,500. And only just now are they saying, sounds good to us. At least that's what the real estate consultant is going to recommend to the Hubble board. So what I hope we could do, I would like to entertain a motion to support let's see, what's the word, to, I had the word, I'm going to tell it to initiate an acquisition project for the 45 acres of Hubble property, including an application for CPA funding and any and all other funding sources that we can find. But for $117,500, and basically to develop a budget for this acquisition, this project. That's a messy motion, but I entertain discussion of the topic in general.
So, we know that's the number that Hubble wants.
No, that's the number they accepted that we wanted them to accept.
That's the number going to Hubble. Depending on what we use this for, you might also have to pay somebody for a conservation restriction.
Yes.
Has it been surveyed, or are we going to have to pay for a survey?
We had a survey done on the 5-acre piece that we already own there, but shares some of the boundary. But there are other points that should be surveyed, or the points, there was a survey done back, remember when they offered it to Phil Lindquist about 20 years ago? There was a survey done there, and they were bounced, but I couldn't put my hands on it. We would need to relocate those.
You definitely have to survey the bound between Hanson and Division of Fish and Wildlife.
Yes, there would be surveying required, as well as a CR cost, yes.
So,
What about a phase one?
Since we would not be applying for a land grant, what I would do is I would look to the Wildlands Trust and the requirements for how you spend CPA money to see if a phase one is required. Basically, an environmental site assessment or a baseline data report is another name for it. So
it's going to be a lot more than $117,000. That's the point.
And whether it's a lot more or just somewhat more remains to be seen. On the phone today, I asked Scott McFadden of the Wildlands Trust to give us a number for what the endowment fee would be for a conservation restriction, because that's what we had to do for some other properties. Sleeper, yes.
11,000 and change.
Yeah. Don't know the numbers, but yes, there were numbers there. So we know more than we used to know from painful experience that it would be more than just the acquisition cost.
Title search.
Title, yep. So there would be a number to be figured out, but it's 45 acres. It would increase the size of our Indian Crossway conservation area from 5 acres to 50 acres, and it would close that gap in the base of the trail.
Well, I would move that we support the acquisition process in the steps that Phil has previously outlined.
Yeah. The verb I would say is initiate an acquisition project, which means the same thing as what you said. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Yeah. The worst that can happen is there'll be more surprises and we won't do it, but this is just so. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? 4-0-0. This way, we're living up to what Hubble has asked us to do. We're taking an initial first step. And we actually have quite a bit of time between now and the fall town meeting to come up with the actual project budget and to seek grants, which outside of the state, we really have some money.
Do you want,
I
voted it, but I don't know if we wanted that for paperwork.
Okay,
We don't have to do it.
let's work with that wording.
Whatever, okay.
I found out one other good thing today from talking to the Wildlands Trust. The Wildlands Trust has now a program whereby they work with individual towns to create what they call a land fund. The towns of Plimpton and Rockland and Plymouth have all done this, whereby the Wildlands Trust accepts donations from people in a town that would be used for land acquisition or stewardship in that town. The town itself is not a part of this. It's just private donors and the Wildlands Trust. But what it is, it's a land fund agreement And I have in my hands here a copy of, I believe it's Rockland's. And this would be a way for anyone who is so inclined to donate money that would be tax deductible, because Wildlife Trust is 501c3, towards, let's say, a project or just in general, and doesn't have to go to the town meeting, doesn't have to go to the state or anything, just goes to the Wildlife Trust. And in this town, in accordance with what the Wildlife Trust does, which is to acquire and protect, not acquire themselves, but promote open spaces, protect them, a funding source to supplement everything else we do going forward, for both buying land and managing it. Made a lot of sense to me. So, to me, it seems like we'd be smart to talk further with the Wildlife Trust and attempt that. And got nothing to do with anyone in town hall. It's simply it's simply a Wildlife Trust document, which is a pretty cut and dry thing. Anyway, that's, I thought, a piece of good news. And looking at the agenda, which right now probably, we just have a few other things to sign, right?
Yep.
Dare I ask why we have a large packet on the Sleeper property?
I think we were just gathering information that we had about it, so when we're ready to discuss it, we already have a
Still
packet going on.
like that.
In other words, when we tackle the easement and the driveway.
Right, at least we have it.
Approach to
To Lincoln Manor.
Lincoln there.
Okay,
Look it over,
good question and good answer.
so you're well aware of the issues.
Thank you, Frank.
At some point,
No.
at some point, we're gonna have to approach them about the parking lot.
Mhm. Yes, we will.
Jeff Keeney, according to Jeff Keeney, and I just what he thinks, because he knew
He knows the whole,
and he knows Lincoln, and he used to live there. He thinks, his opinion is that the reason that right-of-way stops where it does is that Sleeper stopped dealing with Lincoln about continuing the right-of-way.
there was a non-meeting of the minds, perhaps.
That's what it sounded like. So he probably is aware of this, he should be aware of it. I don't know if that affects him.
Well, it probably will come out in the wash at some point, in one form or another. But
When we go up there to remove the berm and install the parking
It'll
lot,
come out.
it'll come out. But the point is that we should probably close with him before that, rather than
so as to
come
not,
out with his gun.
so as to not need to have a county deputy sheriff with it.
We don't talk about the idea of letting them to come here.
Well, we've done that, and they have come here. It wasn't
The friendliest.
It wasn't the warmest. It wasn't like the U.S. and Canada, shaking hands. It was different. But what we learned was, and we invited them to write down their concerns, and they did. And we attempted to take steps forward with town council, and that's probably in the packet. Yeah, I don't know.
So in this packet are the concerns that Boone can deal with?
Yeah, they had quite a few of them. That
Yeah.
But, so those written concerns were a follow-up to their appearance before us.
Yeah. So,
I assume that we still haven't heard from Ms. Federoff and friends.
no, but the packet is here. May I say, sleeping until we decide to deal
Right,
with it.
yep.
She's another one with one award.
So,
Well,
moving.
speaking of that, I should probably call the son-in-law about the sign. You think I should give him?
About the sign.
The time we had made up the thank the Sleeper sign.
Okay, their understanding is we will install that.
I told him we would install it. He does woodworking, so he was talking about making a post and all, but I told him we'll install it.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wants to make a decorative post, that's fine.
By all means. I mean, they have been absolute models of cooperation and how it's
All right. Well, I can't remember his name, but I have his contact.
Are you talking about Mike Sleeper?
No.
Or the daughter, her husband.
I can't remember.
Oh, Johanna.
He's the one that came to the town meeting.
Right. His wife is Myra Sleeper's daughter, Johanna.
That's correct.
I just can't remember her last name either.
Well, I contacted him, I can find his number, I'll give him a call.
Yeah, that would be a nice courtesy, and well done. Now, last thing on our agenda tonight is just to address, these invoices, and here they are, and so I'll pass them on. I noticed one is for project hardware, so, and maybe it's for mileage, so Dave, you might want to pass on those.
I have another one
Oh, okay.
to submit.
TJ and Steve,
I forgot to make a copy of that.
I'll make a copy for you.
Chance.
This first one's the mileage, so probably.
Yep, those are gonna be signed. There's a little post-it note for TJ and Steve on their warrant, and you'll see a little yellow sticker. Just sign on that page, you'll see it'll say employee signature for the mileage.
So those two should sign those two stickers?
Yep, and then this is just a regular warrant.
Okay.
You'll see it, it's just a little yellow thing.
So John signed the warrant, but do sign the employee part?
Yep.
And is this first big one for Dave, the 105? So maybe he should not sign this?
That's TJ,
Oh, TJ.
yeah.
Well, here,
So
let's,
TJ can sign it, but he can sign the employee.
we'll do what Lon says
Okay.
on that.
That's,
I'm not, this is for you, TJ?
yes.
By the way, I never even thought of that until just till right now. Would there be any interest in changing the start dates of our meetings to 6:30?
Yes.
There'd be an objection because of the work day, right? Okay, just checking.
No.
6:30?
Oh, you're very interested in that?
Yes. I have to sign it again?
Did you see where the yellow little sticky is?
Yeah, well, my name's signed?
Did you sign it?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't have to sign it. I don't know why I thought it wasn't on there.
That I did too, but is
Am I?
there any consideration for folk who might not be able to get to us due to their work schedules?
There's a number of meetings in this town that start earlier.
The selectmen now meet at 6 PM instead of 7.
You wanna,
Been practice for a long time.
are we doing that starting next?
6:30.
Okay, I didn't know if there was.
I'm throwing it out.
We're
Frank,
actually,
Okay.
I haven't heard from you and Frank.
Well,
I'm
then,
fine.
early in,
I'm fine with
early
it.
out, so Dave can get started.
yeah.
Wanna do 6:30?
What if we said, starting at the day, and you could fill it in, what have we not yet posted meetings for?
No, April?
May.
May.
Wanna do May?
Why don't we start in May on that schedule, folks?
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna be good for 3.
All right. I'll put a little note.
Do I put,
What?
the recording still on?
Yes, we're recording in session.
There's a date already on here, should my signature date match that?
I don't know. Your date, signature date? No, I don't know. Just go with what you think and I'll look at it
Okay.
tomorrow.
No, that's mine. Okay, I'll sign stuff.
A lot of good work by everyone, thank you very much.
We, just FYI, just an information thing, we're using that foam stuff to set the kiosks.
Home stuff,
Yeah, it's called,
as opposed to, concrete or something.
yeah. It comes in a little bag, you mix it up, put it in your fans. We're trying it, you'll see how it works. It
Okay.
seems to, it sets in 5 minutes.
That's an advantage.
Yeah, and you don't have to haul water and then get the mix of concrete. And it's supposed to seal to the pressure treated so that water can't sit between the foam and the pressure treated.
Huh.
Sounds very good. We'll see, won't we?
Yeah, we will. It's odd stuff.
Sticky?
Don't get it on you. Everyone one pair of pants yesterday.
Sort of like epoxy, or
You cannot get it off.
do
Really?
not play with
Really?
this material.
No, you cannot get it off.
Do not wear your tuxedo.
I was doing over Smitty's in the wind and stuff was
Oh,
blowing.
no.
Man. Anyway, it's amazing how fast it just expands. You can just watch it.
Okay, we have, with the signing of these invoices, our work is complete for the evening, our agenda is complete. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Further discussion? None anyway. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned at 8:40 PM. Thank you all.